wanna be more like you. Every day, Lord, more like you. I wanna be someone you shine through, Lord, more like you. I wanna be more like you. Every day, Lord, more like you. I wanna be someone you shine through, Lord, more like you. I wanna be more like you. Every day, Lord, more like you. I wanna be someone you shine through, Lord, more like you. I wanna be more like you. Every day, Lord, more like you. I wanna be someone you shine through, Lord, and all more like you. And all the world will see it's you and shine across the world. And though I may fall down, you pick me up, shine across the world. And all the world will see it's you and shine across the world. And though I may fall down, you pick me up, shine across the world.
Time I look to you, I see the world differently because of you. I am free. And every time I look to you, I see the world differently because of you. I am free. 'Cause even though the world passes by, I know your love will never leave my side because of you. 'Cause even though the world passes by, I know your love will never leave my side because of you. I am free. I know your love watches over me to guide me in my everyday because of you. I am free. I know your love watches over me to guide me in my everyday because of you. I am free. Yeah. Even though the world passes by, I know your love will never leave my side because of you. 'Cause even though the world passes by, I know your love will never leave my side because of you. I am free. Every time I look to you, I see the world differently because of you. I am free. And every time I look to you, I see the world differently because of you. I am free. Yeah. Even though the world passes by, I know your love will never leave my side because of you. Even though the world passes by, I know your love will never leave my side because of you.
Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions podcast with Brent Bailey. And at the tech booth, Jody Cook-Bailey and Luke Cardio. We are growing our circles of connections and knowledge together with encouraging conversations and positive communications. And now, Brent Bailey.
And happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions. It's Brent Bailey, and it's a great day here in Central Florida. Hopefully, wherever you are, you're having a great day as well. I'm going to head over to the tech booth quickly today to Jody and Luke because we have a full show for you today. Because I have got broadcasting legend Mike Tussey with me today.
Yes.
And we got a lot to talk about. It's a long interview, so you'll want to be here for it. There's a lot of great stuff. So, all right. So let's jump into it. So what's going on?
It is National California Day.
Woohoo!
Happy
Dude,
California
oh my gosh.
Day.
Yes, it's California
Day.
Awesome.
Yeah. Happy California Day.
And how does that feel, Jody?
Feels pretty good.
It's the Golden Gate State, so
it is. It's my state. Born and raised there, and then I've moved around. But now I'm, on the other side of the country.
Yeah, you're a Florida girl now.
I am a Florida girl now. So, but I'm a California girl at heart. I mean, my whole family's still there.
Sure, of course.
So
you're an
pretty
East
much.
Coaster now.
I would say I can't say my whole family. My other sister is in Seattle, so she's West Coast. So. Yeah.
So
happy Golden
Gate Day. It's a great day.
Yes,
Thank you for
is.
giving me my lovely wife. All right.
And then our food day. Let's get to it quickly. National Cook a Sweet Potato Day.
Woohoo!
Yeah. I know it's it is a type of a starch, but sweet potatoes got a lot of great vitamins in them.
I used to eat one every morning for breakfast.
I remember when you first moved to Orlando and Luke lived with us for a little while until he got on his feet. He would put it right in the oven. Big sweet potato right in the oven. And I thought that was so weird.
So they're good. They are good though.
Anyway, here's a little food news for you. I got to pull it back up here. I got to see where it was. One of the restaurants has pulled something out of their hat, which I think is amazing. Applebee's has pulled Cheetos flavored chicken wings.
What?
Oh,
Come on, somebody.
That actually sounds good.
It sounds really good at your logo.
But yeah.
Feeling good in the neighborhood.
But
isn't that who that is? Applebee's feeling good in the neighborhood?
Yeah. Yep.
something like that.
So I think we may be visiting an Applebee's. I don't even know where one is down here, but anyway, Cheetos flavored wings.
Yeah.
It's great.
Good.
All right, listen, I've got a big full interview today with a legendary Hall of Fame broadcaster. So let's jump into it and expand your search. I'm so excited to have on the program today somebody that I had the privilege to work with, but even before I worked with him, I felt like I knew him. He was always a voice that wasn't coming from my head. He was a voice that was out there in the air. I grew up listening to this fella on the radio. He was a sportscaster in our area, and he has become quite the living legend in the area of Kentucky that I grew up in, and now into the regional area of that part of the United States. He is a member of the West Virginia Broadcasting Hall of Fame. He is also a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame for CP1 Ashland, Kentucky baseball. He is the 2020 play-by-play commentator for Morehead State University's ESPN Plus telecast. He has written 3 books. One is titled Baseball and Me, Echoes of the Game. Also Touchdown Saints. And You're on the Air. And so I am so excited. I could keep reading his resume, but we would be here all day if I did that. And I'm so excited to have on the program the legendary broadcaster himself, Mike Tussey. Mike, so great to have you with us today.
Brent, you're very kind. I got to tell you, I'm humbled.
Well, I could just keep on reading this. I know that we're going to have you tell some stories today because you have a career that is stretched through decades now, 60 years in broadcasting and still going strong. And I thought it was so cool to see your posts on Facebook, and I just wanted to let our audience in on I think really the broadcaster's best kept secret to the rest of the nation is Mike Tussey. And so, Mike, just tell us a little bit how you got started.
Well, it's a funny thing how it started. I after I got out of college, I went to work in Ashland at the Second National Bank there, and not making a lot of money. We only made about $60 a week and bringing home about 48. It was not a lot of money even then. So it was about 1961. I was a year in, and a friend of mine named Hal Murphy, who worked over across the river in Ironton, Ohio, at WIRO, and I was telling him about it, and he said, Mike, why don't you come and work and get some time in, make some extra money on the weekends? And I said, Hal, all I took in college was speech a couple of years and a few other things, but I said, I don't know anything about radio. And he said, well, you can learn, and I need to have you work on weekends, Saturday and Sunday. So at that time, Brent, there was a bank policy that you could not work two jobs. It either made them look bad or they wanted control of you. I don't know which it was, but I got over there. And the funny thing, the first day I went over in April of 1961, there was a guy by the name of Noah Don Adams, and he later was going to work for public radio, and he had a great show, an award-winning show called All Things Considered. But at that time, he was a young 20-something-year-old, and he worked with me and told me what I had to do, how to work the board and all. And we were talking about it, and I said, I best not use Mike Tussey, because if I'm on the air, the bank's going to find out about it. And he said, well, change your name. And I said, how can I do that? And I said, is that legal? Can you use pseudonyms and aliases? And he said, oh, yeah, go ahead. So we came up with the name Mike Todd. And because it was one syllable, is what we did, and I started working there, and then that began the whole ball of wax. I started with no experience at all, and I was blessed by the good Lord above to have some talent, and it just snowballed is what it did.
Yeah, I know that my dad grew up in the area, and he said that he used to listen to you all the time, and even the broadcast that now most folks will remember when radio stations actually went and did these kind of things. You'd broadcast from the bowling alley, Blue Ribbon Lanes, and have people would come by and be able to wave and say hi.
That's right.
That kind of stuff.
Right.
Those were great times for people.
We had two shows, is what we had. Hal and I, by the way, he was an actor from Boston. A lot of people don't know that. He was 16, 17 years my senior. And I was a young guy. I was 26 at the time we started. And so he wanted to do the show, as you said. It started at Fern Records, really, at 7th and Winchester. From there, he went to the Ventura Hotel, from the hotel to Blue Ribbon Lanes. But the thing about it was, on the air, it sounded like we were side by side. And we weren't. I was 5 miles away in the studios in Ironton, and he was in the bowling alley. We never saw each other. We went on the air at 7:05, and he'd call me about 7 o'clock when Mutual News was on, and he'd say, Mike, I want to play this, that, these, and those. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I said, okay, Hal. Well, I was his Ed McMahon. Remember Johnny Carson?
Sure.
I was his great man to be. But it turned out that I had some humor, too, and I threw some things at him along the way. And it turned out to be that was a funny thing to do. And we got along. The chemistry was there. And we worked together to 1967. And then WTCR came calling. They wanted to steal me away and take me to WTCR. So I could not turn it down. Hal was a little bit upset about it, but it broke up our two-man show. And so we did it, and the rest is history there. So TCR was good to me. I set records there. I was number one in the morning in the Huntington market and playing country music, which I got to tell you, Barbara, I think it was Barbara, I can't think of her name right now. I'll think of it after a while. But she had a song called I Was Country When Country Wasn't Cool.
Oh, yeah, Barbara Mandrell?
Mandrell. And I was the same way. Because back in the mid-'60s and 65, 6, and 7, back in there, it was the Beach Boys, the Temptations, the Four Tops, and things like that. And all of a sudden, I'm coming in with, as they called it, beer-drinking music in trucks. and I listened to it, and gosh, this was fun. It was about real life.
Yeah.
And people that work every day. And so the chemistry was there again. I just took off and had fun with it and became very, very creative. Connie B. Gay owned TCR, and he owned 6 others. He was stationed in Silver Springs, Maryland, and he told me, he said, Todd, you've got 18 months to make this station either number 1 or number 2. And I said, I think I can do it. I'm going to have some money. He said, money's not an object. Do it. And so I called him up and told him he was in Silver Springs, Maryland. And I said, Mr. Gay, I've got to have some money. And he said, do what you got to do. So I used the money very, very frugal. But at the same time, I got a lot of work done, and we did some great things, and the rest is history there, too.
Yeah, I was going to say WTCR went on to become the number 1 station per capita in the whole United States. It was on a tear there. All right, so then you got into doing sports, and, of course, that's where I came alongside to hear you. You were the voice of the Greenup County Musketeers when I first heard your name. But then I know you did play-by-play for a long time. On different schools, and then we'll get into the pros and things like that after. Talk about how you got started doing that.
Well, it was in 1965 when I was at WIRO, and I was working there with the late Ken Jones, rest his soul. I lost him we all did, in the Marshall plane crash of 1970, November 14th. And Ken became my mentor, and he wanted me to learn how to do play-by-play. Again, I'm in a dark room. I don't know a thing about it. Don't know anything about play-by-play. But Ken taught me some of the ins and outs of it, and so we got out of that and finished up. I came to TCR, as I said, and then I left in 1970, and I began another career in law enforcement with the Ashland Police Department. And the reason I did that was because I wanted a job that had some retirement to it, benefits and hospitalization and things like that. So I began there in 1970, but this is when I never left broadcasting. I mean, I was working 2 jobs all the time, working weekends or evenings or whatever time I was available. And so I started doing sports. And it turned into, in the early 70s, on radio. And then in the mid-70s, I think it was, cable television was getting started with a company called Tower Cablevision out of Columbus, Ohio. And what happened there was I started doing TV. We had 1 camera. It's all black and white. And we started doing the high school games around the Ashland, Ironton area. And that's where I did that. And from then on, it just like you said a minute ago, I went to WLGC in the mid-60s, mid-80s rather, and then went on through the 90s and at WRVC in Huntington, and it just started going and started getting pretty good at it, I guess, what people said I did. And so I went there, and then in 1997, we moved. My 3 sons, I have 3 sons, and it's Mike and Chris and Joe, and all 3 had got their education, and they left in 1997, and we had a beautiful home in Ashland, and we decided let's go someplace where the kids are. We sold our house, and I was going to go to Naples, Florida, and nothing popped up there. I tried radio, nothing there. I went to Lexington, nothing there available. And I came to Northern Kentucky, and they had a job down here advertised in the paper. And I couldn't get anything going on radio, but I thought maybe back to law enforcement. So there was a job open that was advertised for Northern Kentucky University for a police officer. And I had 20 years experience. I left the APD in 1990. And I thought, well, that can't be too hard. So I go up there, I get hired, and then the next thing you know, I'm assistant chief of police there 6 or 7 years later. So I retired in 2003 at 65, and it was time to get out and go back to radio, and that's what I did.
Folks, this is Mike Tussey, and he is a broadcasting legend, but we really are just starting to scratch the surface. I mean, he was a broadcaster. Now he sprung it on us that he's a 30-year veteran of a police department, but then he was also a baseball coach and coached some of the best teams in the area back in the day. But he also just happened to coach a local celebrity who went on to become one of the biggest country music stars of all time. You coached Billy Ray Cyrus when he was in his baseball days.
I certainly did, and Bill was quite a character. I mean, he was a catcher for Russell High, and we had a team there. What the way baseball was back in those days, after you played American Legion ball, if you're 16, 17, or 18, there's no place else to go, 18 plus. So I started a team called Stam Usual League, a Stam Usual team, and that was for boys 18 plus. No limit on it. You can play 22, 23, even some ex-pros played. So we got the franchise. I got it in Ashland, and our first team came in 1982. And so we had tryouts down in Central Park at CP1 there, and we started a pretty good team. Our first year was 15-7, and we won the league 5 times out of the last 10 years. And so Billy was there, as you mentioned, and the funny story about Bill is, I'll tell you this really quickly. He told me he could catch, and I said, okay, Billy. And now you got to understand, there was no Billy Ray Cyrus star this time. He was just a kid, so he was a talker back behind the plate. Good cat. He had a lot of enthusiasm. So one game we were playing, true story, and a lot of people don't know this, but we were up in Huntington, West Virginia, behind the field house there on, I think, on Fifth Avenue. And there's an old ball field there behind the Memorial Field House in Huntington in 1982. And we were playing that night, but it had rained several days, and the field was full of mud and everything else. And so I got out of the car, we walked over, the umpire showed up, and there was a giant mud hole there right by home plate. Must have been about 10 foot square. It was a big hole, about 2 inches deep of water. So the official said, Coach, do you want to play this game? And I said, well, let me see. He said, you want to play the mud puddle, a dead ball? And I said, well, we could do that. Well, Billy was listening, and he said, no, we'll play it live. And he did a belly buster right into the mud puddle, and jumped in it, covered with mud and everything else. He said, little mud don't bother me, man. Let's play baseball. So that's how I got introduced to Billy Ray. Now, the good thing about that was I sent you a picture.
Yes.
10 years later in 1992. Now, this time, Billy Ray was really now after achy breaky heart. So I saw him, and I said, Bill, I got to show you this picture taken 10 years ago. He said, oh my gosh. And he signed it, and it said, if you look at it, it's 10 years almost to the day in 1992. And he said, Coach Tussey, some gay ball, Billy Ray Cyrus. It's hanging here on the wall, one of my greatest treasures.
Folks, again, this is Mike Tussey. He is a broadcasting legend, and he's still into the game today. Now, you have gotten close a couple times to actually breaking into the national scene with things like you were the voice of the Huntington Cubs, which is an affiliate of the Chicago Cubs.
Right.
So, go ahead and talk about that.
I tried out for that. I applied for it. I had to send the tapes in and all that kind of thing. And I guess the Lord blessed me and said, okay, you're at the right place at the right time. And the general manager then was a young man named David Griffin. And so David said, he was 26. And he said, Mike, he said, you're going to be my director of communication and my public relation man. And I said, okay, but you're going to do all the games home and away in the Appalachian League. So I got with that. And got to be fairly good at it, I guess, and I worked hard at it. I really did, and it was fun traveling around, and I could write a book about. That's what part of my third book, Baseball and Me, the Echoes of the Game, was about my years with the Cubs, and pro baseball and what goes on in the minors. If you ever saw the movie Bull Durham, that's the way it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, there are guys who would shut off the sprinkler. I'm telling you, they would do that. But at any rate. I was offered a job and given a job right there in 1994 at the end of the 94 season by Al Goldis. He was the senior vice president of Chicago. And he said, Mike, I want to send you to AA Orlando to be the voice of our Cubs down there. And I said, my gracious. And he said, you want it? And I said, yes, sir, I do. So it turned out that year it wasn't going to be because the strike of 94 hit. No World Series. They fired Larry Himes and the general manager. They fired Al, and I was out of a job. So guess what? Back to radio again.
Yeah. And that's been a real sweet spot for you. You've also done things for Marshall. You've done things for other colleges. Currently, you're working for ESPN doing the Morehead State University Eagles. How did that come about?
Well, what you do if you're me, you send out a lot of feelers, and you're a free agent. And what you got to do, you got to let people know who you are, what you can do. Excuse me, and when you can do it. So I sent the feelers out, contacted some people, and the next thing I know, I get a phone call and an email back, and it said, give this guy a call. So I did, and they told me that this is they're mid-major now, This is the smaller mid-major colleges. But I lived in the Ohio Valley, and this was the Ohio Valley Conference. So I was a natural to step right in that region. So I was given that Morehead State position, but they already had some people in that area that were doing the games. I kind of made the team, if you will. I'm like a pitcher in the bullpen. Okay, when they need a left-hander or a right-hander, they call. And the next thing you know, I get calls, and I did 2 games so far, and there's more to come, I understand. But the 2 games I did was Jacksonville State and Austin Peay. And we had a lot of fun in that Austin Peay game, really did.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Now, Mike, you've written 3 books, and I know that the one book called Touchdown Saints has got a really special story behind it. Can you share a little bit of that? We want people to buy the book, but share a little bit of that.
I'd be happy to, because I'm very proud of that book. It came about. Most books come, sometimes they're a novel, they're fiction, but a lot of times, if you're not writing about your autobiography or whatever, you really have to come up with an angle. And that's the word, an angle. Okay, you got to have an angle. And the angle of this just naturally happened. Sadly, it happened because in 2015, the Thomas More Saints, located in northern Kentucky, about 10 miles from my house here in Florence, Kentucky, and
which is it's a suburb of Cincinnati, for those of you who don't know.
And Mitch had gotten killed in a terrible accident about 8 hours before his first class, and it shocked the campus, shocked the football team. He was going to be a senior, and he would have been the defensive back, one of the DBs in the backfield in the secondary. So they dedicated the season to him. The Fly High Mitch T-shirts came out and that kind of thing. And his presence was there. I told you yesterday on the phone that he wore number 12, and the number 12 popped up in different combinations of numbers. It came up a lot of times. For instance, we set 12 school records on one day, on September the 12th, 2015. 12, and we won the game 84-7. What's 8 and 4? It's 12. That's Mitch's number. So it's scary. So I rewrote the book, and the Saints went on to win the GLVC. I'm sorry, the PAC, the President's Athletic Conference. They won that and won everything that year. And it was just a fitting way to end a great season and a tribute to Mitch Kramer. So the book I sold out and nothing flat. I couldn't get enough printed. So it's a great book, and it was a tribute to Mitch Kramer and the Saints.
Mike, I know that your career has spanned 6 decades now. You're now 82 years old. What we do believe, you are the oldest active sportscaster going in the game today. What is the secret? This is how a good place to end. What's the secret to longevity in a career, I guess of any career, with all the things you've done? And so many people would probably have lost sorting. I got to do this, and this. You were doing 3 big things at once, and you've been doing multiple things like that for 60 years now. What's your secret?
Well, first of all, you got to love what you do. Somebody once upon a time said, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. That's an overused analogy, but that's true. And the first thing, you got to love what you do. You got to be totally 1,000%. And I'm talking about 1,000% committed to doing it. So when I represent a school or a team, whatever it well may be, or whoever it is, I give them 10,000%. I will spend, and I'm telling you the truth here, I will spend the better part of 15 to 20, maybe more hours than that on research, development, and preparation before I sit down and put the headset on. And so I do that. The main reason, one of the reasons physically and mentally is it's good mental health. Now, I could have quit doing sports and just forgot it all about 15, 20 years ago when I was 62 or 65. But I love what I do. I love meeting people. I love the interaction with the kids. And I love the coaches, and we get along fine. And so I thought the best thing to do was to get mentally prepared to do the game. I didn't want Alzheimer's to set in or some kind of mental disease. So you got to use your head and your brain, because if you don't use it, it's going to go.
Yeah.
And so if you use it, it keeps active. I still have my instant recall. I still got my wit. I still got my drive, my commitment. My eyesight a little bit needs to be helped out here and there. But other than that, I feel like I'm 60 years old. I really do. And the Lord has blessed me, and I'm humbled to be there.
Folks, this is Mike Tussey. We're going to have you back on the program. You've got an invitation to come back because we have literally just begun to scratch the surface of the stories and the experiences of a real pro in the game right now. And Mike, I could not appreciate your time anymore. Thank you so much for coming and being with us today.
Thanks, Brent. It's my pleasure, sir. Very, very, very enjoyable. Thank you, sir.
All right. That's Mike Tussey, everybody. And now let's stop for directions. As I listened to Mike talk today, I just couldn't help but see someone who is just so loves what he's doing. At 82 years old, he is still just as sharp as he ever was. He's still just as vibrant as he ever was when I worked with him 30 years ago. And there's something to say about that. To have a 60-year-long career and counting is an amazing feat. And I know that some folks like to say, well, I'm just trying to get my 30 in so that I can retire. And the thing is it's great to enjoy a reward that you've earned. It's a whole nother thing to just stop living. And as I was listening to Mike talk, I could see somebody is very much enjoying his retirement from his job, but he loves his career. And that's the one thing I want to talk to you about today, because knowing Mike like I know him, Colossians chapter 3, verse number 23 is a very resounding scripture in his life. And it's this: whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men. You know, there are things in our lives that there are some people that just, they actually get to do what they're called and born to do for a living. And those people sincerely just have the best outlook on everything that they do. And that's what I want to encourage you with today. In your life, work as if you're working for the Lord. Do it because you love it. Work hard at it. Prepare. Do everything you can to make it as good as you can. And I promise you, the results will be long. The results will be fruitful. You'll be able to be somebody who's in your 80s, ready to rip, roar, and ready to go again. Don't just survive, live. That's going to wrap it up for the program today. I'm so grateful to Jody and Luke for pulling off another great broadcast. I'm so incredibly grateful for the living legend, Mike Tussey, coming by and spending some time with us today and really sharing some stories of great wisdom that he's learned over the years and great experiences. I hope that you come back and visit with us again. We've got more great guests on the horizon for you. Some big names that I can't let out of the bag yet, but they're coming, and you'll not want to miss it. Until next time, I hope you found what you were looking for as you took the time to expand your search and stop for directions. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for joining us today. Connect with us on @expandingyoursearch on Facebook and Instagram and @expandingsearch on Twitter. Relive any of our episodes on YouTube. We're available wherever podcasts are found, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can also download the Direction Ministries app on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. Take some time today to expand your search and stop for directions.